heavy as his blind child stopped breathing properly. Then the vomiting stopped. The fever dropped, and the billionaire froze as his son suddenly followed his hand. Before we go any further, we'd love for you to hit that subscribe button. Your support means the world to us, and it helps us bring you even more powerful stories. Now let's begin. You're signing the consent today, sir. The surgeon's voice stayed polite, but his pen tapped like a threat. Ethan Wycliffe stared at the paper, then at his son. Miles lay on the couch in the sunroom, small body wrapped in a blanket that cost more than most cars. His eyelids fluttered, unfocused, as if the room had turned to fog. A year earlier, this house had laughed. Now, it only echoed. His wife, Celeste, had died during childbirth. Since then, Ethan moved like a man wearing armor. Straight back, tight jaw. No wasted words. The staff learned to tiptoe, to swallow questions, to pretend grief had a schedule. But Miles didn't pretend. 2 months ago, he started with fevers that came and went like bad weather. Then vomiting. Then nights of screaming pain that left him hoarse. Ethan flew in doctors the way other men ordered takeout. 10 became 15. Specialists with perfect hair and colder eyes. They spoke in clusters, whispering outside doors, looking important while the boy got smaller. The worst part was the pattern. Miles always crashed after meals. A nanny would carry a tray in, and within an hour, the boy would sweat through his sheets, his skin turning hot and blotchy. Ethan mentioned it. They nodded, wrote nothing, and went back to their scans. Now the boy couldn't see. He reached for Ethan's hand and missed by inches. That tiny miss hit harder than any diagnosis. Ethan felt it in his throat, like a stone. Down the hall, 2 housekeepers paused by the linen closet. Ethan caught a hissed rumor as he passed. They say he'll go blind forever. They say the dad's losing it. He hasn't left the estate in days. They say the doctors are here for the check, not the kid. Ethan kept walking, face blank, but his fingers flexed once, like he was crushing something invisible. The surgeon slid the consent form closer. 50% chance the surgery saves his sight. And 50%? Ethan asked. The surgeon didn't blink. Then he stays blind. Or worse. Ethan looked at his son again. Miles's lips moved, barely sound. Dad, is it night? Ethan didn't answer. He leaned in, brushing his thumb over the boy's knuckles, feeling the tremble there. Outside the window, the garden stood perfectly trimmed, bright, innocent. That week, a new maid, Tessa Moore, had started in the kitchens. She was black, quiet, and still learning which hallway eyes followed her. When she asked why Miles's meals changed, a head chef snapped, "Do your job." She lowered her gaze, but she kept listening so slowly. Inside, the house held its breath. And somewhere in that quiet, something was wrong in a way none of these experts had bothered to name. Tessa learned the house by sound before sight. The soft click of dress shoes meant management. Heavy steps meant security. Fast heels meant panic. She moved around all of it like smoke, present but rarely acknowledged. That was how survival worked in places built on hierarchy. Her son, Noah, wasn't supposed to be there. That morning, the sitter canceled last minute, no apology, just a text and silence. Tessa stood in the kitchen doorway, phone in hand, heart racing. Missing a shift wasn't an option. Not here. Not with this salary. So she brought Noah with her and told him to stay out of the way. He nodded once. He always did. Noah had learned quiet early. His grandmother used to say silence sharpened the eyes. She raised him after his father died, teaching him old remedies, plant names, patterns people ignored. Before she passed, she made him promise to pay attention. He kept that promise like a habit. From the corner near the pantry, Noah watched. Doctors came and went like clockwork. Clean coats, serious faces, big words that floated above the room without landing anywhere useful. They spoke about Miles as if he weren't there. Numbers, probabilities, risk margins. Noah noticed they never asked about the meals. Lunch arrived at noon. A new nutritional blend, the chef said proudly, designed to boost recovery. The tray slid onto the table. Noah leaned forward slightly. The smell caught him first. Sweet, then sharp. His nose wrinkled. Within 40 minutes, it started. Miles' breathing hitched. His skin flushed. He gagged, retching until the blanket was soaked. A nurse rushed in. Someone shouted for ice. Another doctor checked a monitor and frowned, like this was unexpected, even though it happened every single time. Noah glanced at the clock. Same window as yesterday, and the day before. He tugged his mother's sleeve. "Mom?" he whispered, barely sound. Tessa shook her head fast. Not now. Not here. But Noah's eyes stayed on the boy, on the rash blooming near his neck, on the way his hands clawed at the air, blind, searching. Noah felt a cold certainty settle in his chest. This wasn't random. This was a reaction. In the hallway, staff murmured, "I swear it's the food. They say the new mix costs 5 figures a bag. They say questioning it gets you fired." Noah's mind replayed his grandmother's voice. Allergies hide when people stop asking simple questions. The plant she warned him about had the same sharp, sweet smell, dangerous in small amounts. Worse over time. The monitors beeped faster. Someone called Ethan. The house shifted into emergency mode. Noah didn't wait for permission. He slipped out the side door, feet pounding across the garden path. The flower bed near the fountain caught his eye. He dropped to his knees, hands shaking now, and grabbed what he needed. Inside, Miles convulsed softly, like he was trying to disappear. By the time Ethan's car hit the gate, Noah was already running back, clutching the only answer no one else had bothered to see. Noah burst back into the house through the service entrance, breath burning, fingers stained green. The corridor smelled like disinfectant and fear. Voices overlapped, orders snapped. Someone cried quietly near the wall. In the sunroom, Miles lay limp, eyes open but empty, chest rising too fast. A nurse pressed a cloth to his forehead. Another adjusted a monitor that screamed its warning into the air. Noah didn't slow down. He crossed the room before anyone understood what they were seeing. Small frame, worn sneakers, a stranger in a space ruled by protocols and badges. "What is he doing here?" a doctor barked. "Get him out," someone else said. Noah ignored them. He knelt by the table, hands shaking now, not from fear but urgency. He mixed the crushed petals with water from a glass, stirring fast, remembering the order his grandmother drilled into him. Wrong order killed, right order saved. He lifted Miles's head and poured the liquid between his lips. The room exploded. Security rushed in like a wave. Hands grabbed Noah's shoulders, slammed him to the floor. The glass shattered. Someone shouted assault. Someone else yelled, "Call the police." Tessa screamed her son's name as they dragged him away. Miles coughed, swallowed. Ethan arrived seconds later to chaos. "What happened?" he demanded. A doctor pointed, furious. "That boy attacked your son, forced something into his mouth." Ethan's face hardened instantly. Grief flipped into rage without warning. He saw a stranger's child near his dying son and nothing else. "Detain him," Ethan said coldly. "Call the police and fire the mother, now." Tessa collapsed to her knees. "Please," she said, voice breaking. He was trying to help. Ethan didn't look at her. Noah was hauled toward the door, wrists already cuffed, heart pounding but eyes still on Miles. He caught one last detail before the room swallowed him. The retching stopped. The monitor's pitch softened, not silence, but steadier. Noah's chest tightened. He knew that sound. In the sunroom, a hush crept in. Nurses slowed their movements, confused. One checked the temperature, then checked it again. "His fever's dropping," she said, unsure. Miles' fingers twitched. His head turned slightly, as if drawn by something unseen. A nanny froze near the window. She lifted her hand without thinking. Miles's eyes followed it. The room went dead quiet. Ethan stared, breath stuck halfway in. He raised his arm slowly. Miles tracked it. Clean, clear, intentional. For 2 months, his son had seen nothing. Now he saw his father. The police officer at the door paused. The doctors said nothing. Authority drained out of the room like air from a punctured lung. Ethan whispered, "Stop." The cuffs clicked open. And for the first time since his wife died, Ethan felt the ground shift under everything he thought he knew. Ethan lifted a hand and the room obeyed before he raised his voice. Security stepped back. The officer hesitated, then lowered his radio. The doctors stood frozen, coats suddenly too white, too clean. "Bring the boy back," Ethan said. Noah was uncuffed and guided forward. His knees still ached from the floor, but he stood straight. No apology in his eyes, only focus. Ethan noticed that immediately. It unsettled him. Miles shifted on the couch. His breathing had slowed. The rash along his neck faded from angry red to a dull pink. When Ethan leaned close, his son turned his head toward the sound of his voice. "Dad," Miles said softly, "I can see you." The words landed heavy. Someone behind Ethan inhaled sharply. A nurse wiped at her eyes and pretended it was dust. Ethan straightened and looked at Noah. "Tell me exactly what you did." Noah swallowed once. "I stopped what was hurting him." "That doesn't answer my question." Noah nodded. "He wasn't sick the way they said. It was building up. Every meal made it worse." A doctor scoffed. "That's impossible." Ethan cut him off with a glance. "You've been wrong for 2 months. You don't speak now." Noah continued, voice steady. He explained the smell, the timing, the symptoms that lined up too cleanly to be chance. He spoke about allergies that hide when exposure is slow and constant. About how blindness can come from inflammation, not damage. Ethan turned to the kitchen staff. "Bring me the ingredient list. Every change made in the last 8 weeks." The head chef hesitated. "Sir, the formulation was approved by—" "Now," Ethan said. Papers arrived. Tablets. A digital log pulled up on the screen. Ethan scanned it fast, trained eyes catching patterns others missed. Then his finger stopped. One additive, introduced quietly. Expensive, rare. Ethan's throat tightened. Celeste. His wife had been violently allergic to it. She'd once collapsed at a charity dinner because the chef used it as garnish. Ethan remembered the panic, the hospital. The warning burned into his memory. The timeline matched. The food changed. Miles got sick. The blindness followed. Ethan closed his eyes for a brief second. When he opened them, something hard had settled in his gaze. "This was never a mystery," he said. "It was negligence." The doctors shifted. One tried to speak. Ethan raised a hand. "You treated charts. You ignored the child." He looked at Noah again. At the kid everyone dismissed because he didn't belong in this house. "You saw what professionals missed." Noah shrugged slightly. "I just paid attention." Ethan exhaled slowly. The house felt different. Not warm yet, but awake. Outside the sun dipped lower, light spilling across the garden where a boy had run for answers while adults argued credentials. And Ethan understood something painful and simple. Silence had almost cost him his son. The police left without paperwork. The doctors followed soon after, quieter than they arrived. No arguments, no press. Ethan made sure of that. Some reputations ended without headlines. Tessa stood near the doorway, arms wrapped around herself, unsure where she still belonged. Noah stayed close to her side, shoulders tight, eyes alert, like the floor might vanish if he relaxed. Ethan crossed the room slowly. No rush, no anger left to spend. "I was wrong," he said. Simple, direct. The words cost him more than money ever had. Tessa nodded once, tears finally slipping free. Noah looked down, embarrassed by the attention. "You're not fired," Ethan continued. You're promoted. Full authority in the household staff. Effective immediately. Tessa's breath caught. Ethan turned to Noah. And you're